I mean, we have such a variety of terrain in the US. You could have rolling hills in prairies like at Unbound, or you could have quite steep climbing terrain like Crusher and the Tusher, which is part of the Lifetime Grand Prix, is basically for the pros, it's an hour-long climb to start. You drop down, you do a small little loop in the valley there, and then it's an hour and a half climb to finish. So I don't know how inclusive that is, but you know,
so you just give Keegan the prize money before they start.
Oh, they should. They should. It's the perfect. It's every race is good for Keegan, but I think that race he won by over 10 minutes last year. It was ridiculous.
Jeez, he knocked shit out of Lachlan over in Cape Epic.
Yeah. We were talking about that on my podcast too. So this is no offense to Lachlan. Lachlan beat me at every single race that he didn't have a mechanical at last year. Super good rider. But man, if I was Keegan, like I don't, and you know, just trying to decide who to go to Cape Epic with. And it's like, okay, you know, we can get Lachlan to go with you. I'd just be like, man, I'm going to stay here in Arizona and train, you know?
Is the gap that big? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that had Keegan been with either Blevins or Matt Beers and that was their team, I think he would have won. Cause he's just so, I mean, I just came from Sea Otter Classic and he won Sea Otter. Blevins was there. He's just such a strong rider. I don't think there's any reason why he can't win Cape Epic if he has the right teammate.
Not presupposing his motivation, but Lachlan's such a huge brand that there's maybe a brand building element for Keegan and ticket books with sponsors to go and do that with Lachlan.
Yeah, I mean, definitely could. It's interesting. Cape Epic, most of the time, the teams are on they're on the same bike. They've got all the same sponsors. You know, Blevins and Matt Beers were both on Specialized, and Lachlan and Keegan, I think the only sponsor that they have in common is Rafa, which maybe Rafa is the one that funded it. So yeah, I mean, that could definitely be the case.
But I've had Alex Hales on the podcast a couple of times, and it was interesting chatting to him while he was under contract with EF. And then he's like, get me back on like when my contract expires and we'll have a totally different chat. So really? When the contract expired. And he said it was so difficult. So you're going to, you know, an Unbound and everyone's like, oh, why is Alex Hales not in the top 10? Or why is he not in the break? Why is he not in the top 5? But he said the reality of being with EF, it meant that because him and Lachlan have become this brand, that Whoop would have a commercial they wanted to shoot in the Swiss Alps. So the team would be like, oh, send Alex over there. So he's flying to the Swiss Alps and sitting in like an ice cold bathtub trying to do some advert for Whoop. And then they'd be like, okay, an investment banker in Munich wants us to do a ride and he's a big contributor to the team. Oh, send Alex. So he's like, it could be 2 weeks before one of these races, just bouncing around Europe, going to these, you know, sponsor gigs. And then he comes to the race with very little proper training done, real bad nutrition, late nights, travel, not a leg. And so while technically World Tour, he said the last couple of years of his contract, he didn't know what hat he was. He didn't know if he was the mascot, if he was some sort of member of staff, or if he was a rider. I'd imagine Lachlan's kind of in that position at the moment where maybe his form doesn't represent his best winning Tour of Utah style form.
Yeah, I mean, that could very well be the case. He's still in great form, but there's clearly a difference between Lachlan's form and Keegan's form, at least with the contract that Lachlan has right now. I mean, you could be absolutely right about that. I'm sure EF has him doing a lot of things.
Well, like, I'm going to Kenya for a migration gravel race this year. I'm sure he's still going to kick absolute shit out of me out there. So it's all relative.
So if you like this video, you should definitely check out this video because I know you're going to love it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.